Hey guys, my name is David, all the way from Vietnam at VDI Academy. Today we have a very special guest, Mauvis, and we're all the way in Indonesia, Bali, for Coinfest Asia 2024. So, why don't we start with a quick introduction about yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background so our audience understand just a bit more about you.
Cool. Hello, everybody. So I'm Mauvis Ledford. I'm I guess a tech startup CTO for the last 20 years. Started out in New York City in the fintech space, got into ed tech. I'm a lifelong learner, moved to the Bay Area, and then I made my way to Singapore. I got into Web3 full-time in 2017, joined CoinMarketCap, was there for about 2.5 years as a CTO until the Binance acquisition. Then for about 5 years, I was a Web3 tech advisor. And till today, I'm starting my own AI X DePIN Web3 startup called Sogni.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you were previously a CTO at CoinMarketCap, or roughly 2 years, right?
Yeah.
How was your experience there? Was there any highlighting stories? Anything that was special about that experience?
Yeah, I mean, there was so many stories. So I joined around late 2017, early 2018. This was the Bitcoin bull run from like 3K to 20K. And essentially, I had met Brandon, the founder of CoinMarketCap, at a wedding through a friend. The groom was like, "Oh, meet Brandon. He's founder of CoinMarketCap." And I was like, "Oh, man, we love CoinMarketCap. Do you need any help?" And he was pretty much like, "Yeah, the servers are on fire." And I was like, my bread and butter is massively scaling sites. Previous, I was working at Skype and Disney Mobile. And long story short, I started as a contractor building the pro APIs. Before that, CoinMarketCap was just a website that took a snapshot of 300 plus exchanges around the world every 5 minutes. And it was just essentially a single page cash management Cloudflare. Everyone wanted access to all the old data that CoinMarketCap has. And my job was to create that API. And it was very difficult because you can't cache an API like that. People can ask for the price of Bitcoin for the last 7 years every 15 minutes. And that there was no point in caching that because everyone else is going to ask a different question. So my first job was to create the blueprint of what that could look like. It got greenlit, and then I built it. We launched it, and even I was sweating bullets because I've dealt with a lot of big data sites, but CoinMarketCap is on a whole other level. But long story short, we launched without a hitch. All the banks, VCs, hedge funds, backtesters got to use our APIs. But the best part is we got to use our own APIs, switch over to React, have custom views, logins, and then launch our mobile app. So that really set us off into the next level. And then the Binance acquisition happened like 2.5 years after that.
Awesome. So from your background and experience, you seem to have started very early with AI, blockchain. What do you love most about either of these technology, and where do you see the best synergy between both AI and blockchain?
That's a great question. When my first tech startup got sold in the Bay Area, I was a CTO, and my CEO went on to the Gates Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and she brought me with her as a tech consultant there, an advisor. I was helping doing due diligence deals on projects, as well as doing research on Blue Sky project.
And when was this?
This was 2017.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 2016, 17. And the cool thing about that is the Gates Foundation essentially paid me to learn 3 months at a time, AI, machine learning, blockchains, VR, AR. And my job was to learn the technology, who the key players are. And, you know, Gates Foundation has so much money, they can turn nonprofits into for-profits, you know what I mean? And so every 3 months I would fly to Seattle and present to the board about this new tech. And these are all like ex-teachers and college professors who are not technical. So I had to really break down it. So in a way, it was like a PhD dissertation where I had to be ready for any question. But I became really well-versed in, early on in AI and blockchain tech. And when I did the blockchain cycle of the 3 months, I said, I need to work in this space. And the shortest definition I had for blockchains is the ability to have rules without rulers. And that changes the whole game. Because when you have rulers, you have all kinds of stuff where you have corruption, you have back dealings, and all kinds of stuff. So I saw this as an incredible game changer. And so what's interesting is, like, in 2019, I got this tattoo. This is actually the Genesis block of Bitcoin. Like, I'm so into blockchains. And nowadays you have like crypto bros and a lot of stuff that just want to get rich. And I truly saw the future of where this is going, and I wanted to be a part of it.
Right. So was this your first time having exposure to blockchain and AI, or did you already had exposure before that?
Before 2017, I had some exposure, but I didn't really understand it too much. I heard about the Silk Road, and I living in San Francisco, every now and then, I hear about people owning and buying Bitcoin. The Silk Road phenomenon was super fascinating to me because they had essentially set up a system like Amazon based on reviews, and for certain audiences, it was the highest quality place to get and the cheapest place to get anything you wanted. And there's a whole libertarian aspect of that I don't entirely agree with, but what was created was pretty amazing. And the fact that blockchains can really interact with all aspects of our life, from right now it's really financials, but everything from law to medical. I mean, when I bought a house in the US, you have to pay 1% on like a title insurance because someone's grandpa 100 years ago might have stole it from someone else, and that 1% safeguards you. But if everything was on the blockchain going forward, like, you wouldn't even need that. It's going to simplify so many things. So in terms of like blockchains, that's where, I'm amazed by this. It's this kind of time series database that everyone shares and trusts. With AI, it's really interesting. Like, ChatGPT really showed us where everything was headed. And now with all these creative AI, generative AI tools, and now video, it's just amazing. A lot of people are afraid of it, but I find when you erase these things for the positive aspects, they're really giving humanity extra hands to get work done.
Right. Awesome. So talking about Web3 and AI again, where do you think they best converge? And the reason why I'm asking this question, there's a lot of hype around. We see a lot of events. We see a lot of organizers talking about throwing the AI in with the Web3.
Yeah.
Where do you see the synergy between Web3, AI, or maybe what parts of one another complement each other?
Yeah. So there's so many angles that AI and blockchains can intersect. Two of the biggest ones is provable AI, especially when it comes in terms of layer like DePIN. It's really interesting because almost everybody is running their services on Amazon or Google Cloud right now. And you're, especially in regards to disk space, you're paying for the same hard drive every single month. It's quite ridiculous. And there's almost a move back to bare metal. But bare metal has its downsides in that if a system goes down, you're in charge of changing the hard drive. You got to drive somewhere. And so there's a hybrid thing that's happening with DePIN where people are able to have all these high-end gaming rigs and other PCs, and you're able to essentially DePIN across them in a decentralized fashion and pay them for the compute. So I think in the future, all these devices have really smart, capable CPUs and GPUs. And if we can harness across them, not only is it more redundant, more secure, but because it's on chain, it can be done in a provable, trustworthy way. So that's really exciting for me. And then the whole other aspect is in terms of like provable AI. Right now, we're also kind of addicted to these $20 a month plans. And when you have strangers do your work in AI, in these DePIN layers, you need to be able to prove that work on chain in a database that everyone trusts. So there's just many ways they interconnect perfectly.
Right. So just to intersect, for our audience that may not be aware or is new to the space, what exactly is DePIN?
DePIN stands for Decentralized Physical Compute Infrastructure. And essentially, it enables us to use other people's devices. And it has so many really positive aspects to it. One is, I say this also in the context of I just have a new startup called Sogni. It's a generative AI X DePIN product. And for example, we're kind of like if you put Midjourney inside of Photoshop. So it's on your local machine and you're able to generate images. And our original version allows you to download over 100 different models and render them on your own like MacBook. The downside is, the positive side is there's no limitations, no rate limiting, there's no privacy issues. It's all your own. You can turn the internet off, right? The downside is you're limited by your own CPU and GPU compute, right? And so we tried to really think like, what does the AI world need next outside of this kind of freedom of censorship and other controls that people are putting onto AI and perspectives. Like when Google Gemini launched and you ask for like 1940 German Nazi soldiers, you're going to get portraits of Asian and Black people because it has a mandate to be diverse more than accurate. So you can't really use this for like real work in a way, whereas you want, really accurate models. And that's why it's important with open source to have that.
So with the DePIN example, the one that you're talking about, the decentralized compute, is it pretty similar to what we see with Render, IO.net?
Yeah.
You guys are also doing something pretty similar.
Exactly. So we see two types of these kind of DePIN cloud layers. One is people like Render, and they essentially raise a lot of money and have access to so much high quality CPU, GPU power, but their audience really is business to business. We feel it's like for movie studios, 3D render houses. We see a tool like Sogni for the every person, the every man and woman, the one person design studios. And since we're not like a monthly fee, the thing with Sogni is you download it and you can do all those amazing renders with it, but every render is going to take between 1 and 3 minutes, depending on you have a MacBook Air, a MacBook Pro, M2 Ultra, etc. By adding this DePIN layer, you're able to essentially harness other people's GPUs. Like say people have high-end gaming rigs, they're using that 8 hours a day, 16 hours. It's not doing anything. And if they install our Sogni tool, they're able to earn income by doing other people's renders, right? So now you can in Sogni you can render, for example, 16 images in less than 5 seconds for pennies on the dollar.
So what's the yield or incentives? How much are the people that are contributing on the compute side getting by contributing their compute power?
Yeah, I would say it really depends on how powerful your machine is. The machines we're specifically like using is the ones with RTX 4090 cards. This is the highest in consumer card. It used to be hard to find 2 years ago, but now like here in Singapore or where I live, like I got my machine built and delivered to my house within 24 hours. It was about $4,800 USD. And the interesting thing is a Mac Studio M2 Ultra, that's like $5,000. So it's 20% cheaper than a Mac, and it's 5.5 times like more powerful. And that's why NVIDIA just eclipsed Apple, because they really, this stuff is like alien technology. But in terms of how much they can make, on average, it's about $300 a month. They can make up to like $1,100 if they're put to work. So it depends on how many artists are using those servers. But what's really interesting is when you're using Sogni, your work is getting done by other people, and it's going directly to their pockets, everyday people, instead of Amazon or Google. So there's another aspect that we appreciate about what we're building.
So your devices or these RTX is kind of running in the background. There is actually a misconception, or maybe it is. Maybe you can educate me and the audience. A lot of people are saying by doing that, the cost it would take to, I guess, maintain, repair, since does it deteriorate the RTX or the GPU that you have when contributing your compute for the ecosystem?
Yeah. So I think time will tell with that, but realistically, people are upgrading their computers every 3 or 5 years. And I'm pretty sure these cards will easily last 5 to 10 years. What will fail probably sooner than later is the hard drive. But that's why you should have backups and such. But in our case, we do need between 20 gigs and 200 gigs on your drive. The more you're able to host our open source Stable Diffusion models, the more work you can get as artists are selecting which models they use.
Gotcha. Awesome. So a lot of people also say AI is mainly in favor of big tech companies. We see guys like OpenAI, Google, they have a lot of resources because it's really expensive to train AI models before we can have a lot of really interesting applications leveraging those. So is there a way that Sogni is addressing this issue, especially for the creative image generation niche, which require a lot of resources for the AI models?
It's a great question, and we really think we are kind of on the good side of history as we don't support closed models. We do two things. We support open source models that are open source licensed. And we not only that, but we give 1% of royalties back to the model creator. So if you're using a specific model, like my favorite is called Zabi Chroma itself. Every time you're using that, 1% of the money you pay for that goes directly to the wallet of the owner, right? And we're not just incentivized, because right now these creators, they're launching on Reddit communities or message board sites like Civit AI, and people are downloading and compiling them for the local machines and thanking them, but they don't make $1 from that. Maybe they make money in other ways, but here they're actually earning money, and we're thinking that they're going to actually launch the newest models around Sogni where they can make more.
Got it. And with respect to what we talked about so far, how can communities, individual, join, contribute, find opportunities with Sogni AI unfound anywhere else. And it would be great if you can maybe talk about if there's an economic flywheel to your model.
Yeah, exactly. So what's really interesting is we built Sogni not just for rich people or creative professionals. I really think it's for creative professionals or those that strive to be, because now you suddenly have more artistic capabilities than you've ever done before. And at the same time, that's why we are releasing Sogni right now is $20 one-time fee across the board. It works on desktop, iOS, iPad, even Apple Vision Pro today, which is pretty cool. But we're going to drop the cost next week to $0. So that's going to be the free version for local renders. And then we have the whole DePIN layer. And even if you can't afford to what we call fast render on the network, you can literally give your compute power for a couple nights, and now you're earning enough tokens to fast render on your own. Because in terms of creative generative AI, to create work requires like the more work you can get done. Time is money. But at the same time, we don't want to have people not be able to afford it, so it works for everybody.
Gotcha. And out of curiosity, what type of target audience or customer are mostly using image generation with Gen AI?
Man, it's everybody. The total market for this is literally all creative professionals or those that strive to be. So it's children's book authors, Dungeons and Dragons, field builders, gamers, fashion designers, and really, that's what we love about Sogni. And as time passes, we want people to be able to customize Sogni with plugins to do specifically. If you're just into interior design, like we want to have those tools direct up and center in the app, so you'll be able to really skin it the way you want. And there'll also be a future DAO aspect. But the flywheel is like some people will only be interested in giving their compute power to do renders and earn money or earn tokens so they can fast render, and others are just wanting to not spend money in local render. While others will be able to buy the tokens in-app using Apple Pay and get those tokens too.
So how far has Sogni come at this point? And is there any exciting future roadmap that's, for our audience that might be interested in what you guys are currently building?
Yes. So this week, actually last week, we launched our testnet finally. And it's interesting because right now we've connected to a number of cloud providers, and we're eventually building our own Sogni cloud. And what we're doing now is we're testing our capacity. We want people to break our system. So we're inviting a number of users for unlimited renders. So with tools like Midjourney right now, you can do, say, 4 renders in a minute. With Sogni today, you can do 16 renders in under 5 seconds. So we believe, we've looked out there, we are the fastest in the whole industry. And we want users to come in and use our tool for free during testnet phase 1, and phase 1 will last 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
As we iron out any bugs, we're really trying to get people to try to break us, honestly.
Right. So is this why you're reducing the cost to 0?
Yeah. So it'll always be free. The free version of Sogni, if you want a local render, no trackers or anything, that is our gift to the world. But and we're going to give everyone in November, we're launching mainnet. We're going to give everyone like 400 free renders so that they can see what it's like to render with the swarm. That's also our gift. And after that, if you just want a local render, you can. But once you've tasted the Sogni swarm, I think many people will be incentivized to want to use the swarm credits to fast render, right? But we do have a lot of the flywheel now where anybody that joins testnet now is eligible for the airdrop we have in November. We have a number of campaigns we're going to do, design contests and stuff where you can be earning tokens as well.
Got it. So getting to this point so far, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys have seen, and how do you overcome them? And this is more targeted towards a lot of our founders, aspiring entrepreneurs that's also watching the podcast series as well.
So my biggest advice to your audience is to just always build. Even if you're just starting out and you don't have a reputation, or maybe you're still learning. One, getting paid to learn is amazing. Like I said, my story about being at the Gates Foundation, where every 3 months I just got paid to study 8 hours a day at new technology. That was really, really amazing. But also, build up a portfolio, build up a GitHub. Don't also wait for somebody to pay you to do something. Start contributing to open source projects or making your own. And then the hardest part of what we're doing with Sogni is obviously the cost in building this, and it's a chicken and egg story. You need money to build the product, but you can't build the product. People want to see your traction. They want to see all kinds of stuff. But the longer you can go without raising, the more product you have and the more valuable it is. So I'm fortunate in my life to be 40 years old and having a tech history where definitely we want to raise a large amount of funds for what we're planning. But we were able to have a team that were able to take lower salaries, and I was able to pay a little bit for bootstrap it in the beginning. And now that we are almost completing our pre-seed raise, like it's still, even for me and my background, was a little bit of a difficult process. So it's not going to be easy, but where you have this whole stressful layer is where you're growing.
Got it. And last but not least, what are your insights or prediction for the future of AI x Web3? Any future trends, exciting things going on between the synergy of these two technologies that you're also really excited about?
Yes, with the whole like AI it's DePIN layer, I think, and crypto, and combining crypto with everything, I think it's just going to lead to more freedoms, more cheap costs, more creativity, more capability. There's always some negative stuff associated with anything, but I do think that in this case, the good outweighs the bad. We are also kind of moving toward a kind of a results-oriented system where people generally, they want things that they don't necessarily care about how it's done. This doesn't mean that we don't care about artists, but the artists are able to do way more. They're able to get, and it's not just limited to those with like the top tier talent. Like even me, I can sketch out a bunch of stuff, throw it in AI, and I can build stuff that ultimately are truly mine. But I'm like a director when it comes to this stuff, And so I think as GPUs and CPUs become cheaper and everyone has access to them, like we no longer are beholden to the big tech companies. It's really cool future.
Right. Awesome. And that's it. Thank you so much, Mauvis, for taking the time to interview with us. And I hope you guys learned a lot from them as well. We'll see you guys next time. And that's it for today.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.